Hello, I'm Screen Name Missing, and this is the Sunday Night Movie.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby together.
Now, this week's movie is called Cornered. It is a dark, twisted horror film. It is the first feature-length film from writer-director Daniel May. He made his very first short film at the age of 11 and has been doing a bunch of things since, and this was his big break to make a full feature film. Now, this movie follows a group of friends slash co-workers who run a convenience store. And during one of their nightly poker games, they are terrorized by the convenience store killer. As the night progresses, you slowly get to learn a little bit more about each character, who they are, what they do, and what their relationship is with the rest of the co-workers. This movie has an incredible cast of very talented actors and actresses. It has Steve Guttenberg. I believe I saw him in The Big Green, and this was a very different role for me to see him as. Now, I was really impressed with James Duval. Although I have not seen that many films of him, the one notable one that I've seen is when he plays the rabbit in Donnie Darko. This film was a much different role than that, although it was still along the lines of a dark, creepy character. He had a very difficult character to play, and I think he pulls it off really well. I'll give credit to Daniel Mays for coming up with a really original and interesting storyline for a brand new movie. I also give credit to his writing because he has some of the classic witty lines that you expect within a horror film. The lines that are going to be memorable. Now, though this movie takes place in an overnight setting and it's just one night, they do a very good job of showing the passage of time and the hours that are going by between the different events that are happening. And the montage during the poker game has some good music that doesn't take you too much away from the concept and the feel of the movie, but it helps you get the passage of time along with the poker chips, the cards that are being passed around on the table, as well as the beers that are being drank and the cigarettes that are being smoked. Also within the script writing, I love the fact that there is a lot of swearing within this movie. Not for the fact that I like swearing. Personally, I think swearing is pointless, as these guys are just ordinary citizens. Them swearing a lot and having a lot of swearing within their vocabulary, it helps give the impression that they are ordinary people. The character development in this movie, as well as presenting the relationships between each character, was incredibly well done. It is presented slowly, but as it goes along, you know exactly how everyone feels about each other, and you know their relationships between each other. You can tell who likes who doesn't like who, and you can tell what kind of relationship that the characters have, and the relationship that they've had for as long as they've been working there. Now, one really good scene that helps establish character is during the poker scene, where Mona, she used to be a working girl, but now she just works as a late-night phone sex operator. And while they're in the middle of their game, she's on call, and she receives a couple phone calls, and she has to have phone sex while everyone is playing poker. This is a really good scene because it helps you connect with the characters. It helps you understand their relationship even more, and it also gives you more insight into who Mona is. And it's really good because it helps lighten the mood of the horror movie, and it brings the comedy into the film, as well as it helps you become comfortable and relate within the characters, helps you kind of feel like one of the gang. Now, continuity is one thing that I am psychotic about, and one thing that I notice the tiniest little things in movies, and this one did a really good job. I don't know if they hit it well, or they were really strict and didn't do too much, but the only things that I noticed was during the poker game, the poker chips that are on the table, the cards, the cigarettes, and the beers slightly, very slightly, change positions or change rotation of where they are in orientation with the table as it changes from different shots, from different angles. Cinematography of this film was really well done, considering that this was Daniel's very first feature-length film. There were lots of jump cuts, and there were also a lot of different camera angles that they used. This was kind of good because it helped you, in a way, stay back, because without having too much fluid shots, too many continuous shots, you kept having to jerk back every time it switched to a different angle, and you kept having to readjust to it, which is really good for a horror film because it keeps you on edge, it keeps you uneasy. There were a couple shots that were some really interesting transitions between two different scenes that were very cleverly done, and you'll have to watch the movie for those because I don't like spoilers. I love the fact that they used regular cameras as well as the closed circuit surveillance cameras as the main footage of the film. It helped you get involved with the element, and it helped know that that is really what the characters are seeing. They also did some first-person point-of-view shots that kind of forced you into the action and forced you to be in there, and kind of made you a little bit more scared because you're right there. You're not watching the people hiding or running away. You are that person, and you're seeing through their eyes. It was really well done that they decided to have the lights of the convenience store not working. This was able to give some really good shadow and have some really dramatic lighting on some of the characters, and it added to the creepy aspect of darkness and not really knowing what's there, not really knowing where the people are, not really knowing who's there and what's going on. Now, during some of the deaths, they got really creative with the cameras. There's one specific death that I will not reveal which one it is, but there's an incredible camera shot, and I'm pretty sure that anyone sees that, they will absolutely love that shot. The soundtrack of this film really made me happy. I was so glad to see that a new director, someone new in the film industry, was coming on board, but was still sticking to having original scores. That's what a lot of filmmakers have abandoned lately, and I love it because it helps you draw in and it doesn't distract from the elements that are going on, as I've mentioned in my previous review. The original scores that they had were really good. It was subtle in some parts, and some of it was very noticeable, but it was really good, and it helped fit the mood and helped you stay within the element. Now, for props and set design, this movie takes place entirely inside of a convenience store, which is a very confined space, which would be really hard to film in, as well as really hard to figure out the floor plan or plan out the movie where everyone's going to go. They did a very good job of that, and along with the props, they did a really good job with the creativity of the weapons that they used, as well as just different props that they used to carry along the story. It was really good that they didn't limit themselves to just the main floor of the convenience store. There was also the upstairs loft, where that is where they do their nightly poker games, as well as the basement. And it was really good that they decided to include both of those, because that way you're not stuck in just the main floor of the convenience store, and you can actually be more involved in the story, and you're not as distracted by all the food and everything in the background being like, oh, there's that food, or there's that food. You know, you're up in the place, and they're places that you wouldn't normally see in a convenience store, so in a way it helps you feel like part of the gang again, and it draws you in, and keeps your attention. For story and plot, I gave this movie a 10. It is the very first film from Daniel Mays, and considering that it's his very first feature-length film, he has done a really good job with this really original story, really creative, really well done, well written, and I was just really impressed with it. For the acting in this movie, I gave it a 9. While I love James Duvall's character and his acting, as well as Steve Guttenberg's character, some of the other characters and just everyone as a whole, I don't know. I can't really explain what it was, but I kind of felt there was something missing. I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure if there was some disconnection at some part, but it left me wanting more within the characters and with the delivery of the characters. For continuity, I give this film an 8. While I know it is hard doing a random poker game with different angles to have the chips and the beers and the cigarettes in the same sort of place, it is very distracting, mainly for me, and it drew me away from it, and I wasn't able to really connect with that scene as well. For the soundtrack of this film, I gave it a 6. They used an original score and created stuff, but there was a lot of the film that had no music whatsoever, and it just kind of felt awkward. It kind of felt like there was nothing there, like there was nothing going on, and it was just awkward. For props and set design, I give this movie a 7. I love the fact that it was set inside of a convenience store, and I like the fact that they had the basement as well as the upstairs. However, an entire movie taking place in one specific area can get kind of dull after a while, which gives this movie an overall 8. This movie will keep you on the edge of your seat and guessing the entire time. You will never see the ending coming, and it is not the norm of classic horror films. It breaks the mold and does something that most horror films don't do. I hope that this film is a preview of more things to come, and to show that he is a force to be reckoned with, to show him that he is the next up-and-coming big director. I would definitely suggest watching this movie just because it is really interesting. It is a first feature-length film from Daniel Mays, and it is also not the norm from most horror films, and it is good to see ones that are different, because sometimes you get bored from horror films by knowing the ending that's going to happen and knowing what's going on, And with this one having a different ending and different sort of plot structure, it was really good to watch. That about does it for this week's edition of the Sunday Night Movie. Now I am going to start doing something different at the end of my reviews. I am going to have a menu that can link you to my previous movie review as well as my next movie review. That will not be clickable until I post the next one. I am also going to be linking to my Team Regulars movie reviews channel of BlackBoxTV's Season 2 episodes. If you haven't checked out BlackBoxTV, link in the bottom bar. Definitely check them out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.